Get ready for a no BS approach to health and fitness. This is NBS Fitness Radio.
Welcome back to MBS Fitness Radio. I am here with Debbie Mannon. Debbie has been training at MBS since February?
February.
All right, very cool. And so Debbie's son actually is one of our trainers out in Cairo. And we wanted to kind of talk through kind of Debbie's, her story of fitness, her story of success, and kind of learn about her journey. So say hey to Debbie.
Hello.
All right, very cool. So first, let's kind of give an overview of your fitness journey. What's things you've done? Just kind of give us your life story with regards to fitness.
Story in a brief.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess thinking back through childhood, I was not like a huge fitness guru. I did play some softball when I was a kid and some intramural softball in college, co-ed intramural. So that's about all I've done as far as sports, organized sport.
Okay.
Well, I say organized. Gymnastics.
Yeah.
I got into gymnastics. I really loved gymnastics from the time, like, when I was 4 years old watching the Olympics and Nadia Comaneci was there.
Yeah,
so I'm in my family's foyer on the little tiles and doing the balance beam routine along my tiles and staying on that. Love that. But I didn't get to actually start gymnastics until I was about 8 years old, which if you're familiar with how all that works, that's way too late.
A little late, yeah.
Yeah. So
late if you want to go to the Olympics. So.
Exactly. And, I got started at a real gymnastics training center when I was probably 10. So that didn't last too long. Even though I loved it, I was not actually being trained by the trainers. I was being trained by the other gymnasts because I was so far behind everybody. So my love for gymnastics kind of dropped pretty quickly when that happened because I just wasn't getting the support and the encouragement and everything that I needed. But
you liked to do gymnastics and wanted to get better, but they weren't willing to do that unless you were, a potential Olympic hopeful, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have potential at that point because I was too late.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
I know.
Were your parents into fitness or did they exercise or do anything growing up?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't even remember my parents doing anything. I mean, we camped and hiked through the woods, but there was nothing fitness oriented. My brother didn't play sports, so it was not really ingrained in the family.
Okay.
Fitness activities. It was just something that I, like I said, the softball I was interested in. And, and that's about it.
Okay, cool. So kind of went through high school and college doing softball. What happened once you graduated?
Didn't really do much of anything after graduation. Got married. Didn't really, boating was our thing.
Okay.
So, which, other than water
skiing.
Is
that boating on a pontoon and drinking, or is that boating and like going skiing?
That was boating and skiing.
One is a caloric deficit. One's a caloric surplus.
Right. It was boating and skiing, but, generally you also boat and just float.
Right. Okay.
It's too hot to do anything else.
I got it. Okay.
But I did ski and wakeboard and kneeboard and did all those things, but not enough of it on the weekend to really count towards fitness.
Gotcha. Okay. So at what point did you kind of first go, okay, I'm gonna start exercising? When did that happen?
That wasn't until after I went back to work in 2013.
Okay.
So I left work when my kids were born.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, not David, but my younger Michael was stubborn and didn't want to take a bottle. It pretty much stopped my career at that point. And I was at home running a business out of the house. We got into, my husband at the time and I got into basketball refereeing for a little while. Something that he wanted to do. And we got into it and had to get in shape really fast. A lot of running back and forth up and down the court.
Okay.
So as far as cardio there, that got me in some really good shape really quickly. And I was having fun doing it.
And you're reffing like rec league, high school?
Middle school and high school.
Okay. Very cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
And doing, actually in my second year, they were starting to put me in tournaments, district and regional tournaments. And they were grooming me, I guess you could say, to move on, but had to leave that because of some family issues we were having.
Okay. So how old are you at that time when you start doing this kind of refereeing stuff?
Probably right around 40.
Okay, so 20 to 40, you were just kind of doing the boat and stuff, doing raising kids. And then at 40, that's when you first started doing the referee stuff. But primarily you're just getting in shape through running to get ready to run basketball.
To run back and forth up and down the court.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So, and I felt good though when I was doing it. So it was something, it opened my eyes to the fact that, wow, I feel better now that I'm in shape.
Right.
Because I wasn't really in bad shape before. I mean, I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
I was always been pretty kind of athletic.
Yeah.
Always wanted to play with my brothers and his friends.
Yeah.
If they played football, I was wanting to play football.
Right. Yeah. Are you the younger?
I'm the younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many?
He didn't want me hanging around, but
how many brothers do you have?
just one brother.
Okay. What's the age difference?
2 years.
Okay. I have a 4-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I have 2 boys and then a little girl. And the reason I asked is like I'm kind of
she's gonna tag along.
I try to see into the future. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's gonna be like in the mix hard. So she's gonna be pretty tough, I would imagine.
Whatever they want to do, she's gonna want to do right there with them.
Yeah. Okay. So. All right. So you refereed for a little bit, and that was. Do you remember like a transition of going, "Ooh, this is hard," and I want to get better at it? Like, do you remember kind of like mentally what you were going through during the process of like I haven't been running at all to like now I'm running regularly for refereeing?
Yeah, I started running just in the neighborhood, trying to get used to it. And my first time running, I mean, I couldn't even run a half mile.
Yeah.
And I would walk. I would try to fast walk, and then the next time I'd run, I might run 3/4 of a mile. So I was just kind of doing the same route, seeing how far I could go. But built up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't take much to get up to running a mile and a half. Then I was working on my time. Can I get my time down?
Yeah.
Can I run faster? So I was just, I guess I'm naturally competitive, so I'm naturally trying to push it.
I was going to ask, like, because there's kind of 2 ways that can go. It can be the motivating, like competitive. I ran a half mile. How much if I ran 3/4? And like you're pushing yourself to get better. Or the opposite of that is like that sucked. I never want to do that. I go and I quit. So I was like, what's the mentality that like pushes you one way or the other? And I just like, it sounds like you've had kind of that competitive spirit in you at a young age from having older brothers and wanting to do gymnastics and wanting to do softball and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, if it was just running, I probably wouldn't keep pushing myself because to me, running's boring.
Right.
I'm just running and I'm by myself and there's just nothing going on. But in a basketball game, I mean, you're watching a basketball game. Yeah. You're watching these girls foul each other or guys. Guys games. And, there's excitement to it. And you're watching for things that you probably wouldn't have thought to watch in a basketball game. Before you might watch it for entertainment value. Now you're watching for certain things to happen.
Yeah.
And anticipating. And so that to me was the excitement factor of wanting to run and wanting to get my running better.
Yes, you enjoy doing the refereeing, and then you're like, if I go and run, I'm better equipped to do this basketball game.
To get ahead of them. Okay. You got to get ahead, especially, doing the girls' games wasn't so bad. If you throw you in a boys' game, you got to run down there and get ahead of them and get in front of the
right.
play.
Yeah.
So they're faster than me.
Yeah. I never thought about that. It's like, you have to be able to keep pace at least like with these high-level athletes.
Yes.
So. Okay, cool.
And then the worst part was they did our training during the summer.
Yeah.
And so summer league, they didn't run plays. They were just running and gunning back and forth, back and forth. And you get to the point where like, okay, somebody call a foul.
Yeah, I'm just going to start. I'm looking harder for these fouls now. I need a break. Okay.
I'm going to blow the whistle anyway. I don't care if there was a foul there. We're to make one.
I like that. Okay. I'm gonna remember that. It's like, that wasn't a real foul. You just needed a break. Hey.
Exactly.
Okay. And so eventually you kind of stopped doing the refereeing. Did you keep exercising or kind of what happened then?
So stopping the refereeing was a very bad decision. Sent me into depression. Gained 25 pounds, just eating, not happy, just a lot of stuff going on. And I was miserable for a while. Went back to work 2013. So what was that, 9 years ago? I was about 43 at the time.
Okay.
And when I
So you had stopped refereeing.
Stopped refereeing.
Like how many years? Because you started refereeing at 40. How many?
Probably about 2. Well, we did 2 years, so probably 40, 41.
Okay.
And then I was probably off for a year and a half to 2.
Gotcha. And then went back to work. Cool.
Yeah. And I went back to work. And I guess the precipitous there was I had to buy a new wardrobe because I'd been out of work for so long. And when I started buying clothes, I was like, nope, no, this is not happening.
I'm not willing to buy that size. Okay.
Exactly. I was like, I had a ceiling on my size, and I'm like, no, I'm going to lose weight.
Fair enough. Well, okay. How much of the kind of psychological depression, like how much of the psychological decline do you think was physiologically based, meaning like now lacking exercise? Because I think you said you had some family stuff going on, so I'm sure that played into it. But like, I mean, how much of it you think was just going from getting this regular exercise to nothing, and the physiological, I am exercising, that's producing responses in my body, but also like the psychological aspect of exercising, this is fun, I see myself getting fitter, I'm doing this thing I enjoy. Like, how do you see it? How do you feel like all that impacted it?
I would say a lot. I mean, the excitement about the basketball, and I was moving up and getting ready to do, more tournament type games. And they were, there was a potential for me doing college level ball. And so that, just not getting that was probably the bigger percentage of it. But then I do realize when I don't exercise, I don't feel good. I get depressed, when you're not, because it does produce endorphins. And when I notice, like, if I'm sick or if I'm just like not feeling it that day and I don't exercise, it just kind of brings me down further. Yeah. Mentally, you're not in the same place. I think mentally I am sharper, better when I'm exercising.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking about this with someone the other day of like, it was like when you're engaging something on a regular basis, when that thing is taken away, like you are very aware of the response. We were talking about church, and what I said was like when my wife and I we've gone to church like every single week our entire lives, right? And when COVID hit and we couldn't go, it was like an instantaneous, like, I'm quite aware of like how this feels to not be around people and having to do YouTube church. Mm-hmm. And so my statement was, it was a very noticeable change because it had been something we were used to for so long. And then like I compared that to exercise. It was like if you're used to exercising and eating right for like an extended period of time, a week off of that is like this instantaneous awareness of how bad you feel not doing it. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I don't think there's a difference in how bad someone feels from having done it for, well, I take that back. I think there is probably a bigger difference in how bad someone feels having done it for like 20 years. Like if you have not exercised and have been eating poorly for like 20 years, you feel bad. You're just not aware of how bad you feel because it hasn't been this stark contrast. It's been this gradual decline.
Exactly.
And trying to convince someone, I think, of like, no, you're going to feel 1,000 times better. Sometimes that's difficult for them because the only instantaneous change they feel is like the soreness or like being out of breath, the discomfort, that kind of stuff. Lack of like, eating whatever that food or drinking whatever that drink is that they really enjoy. But I think that is that's an area that when you've been doing it, you become so aware of it so quickly.
And that's something I noticed too. At some point when I was off with the kids and not working outside the house, I saw, probably at a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A playground or something at one point, and I saw a grandmother, and she wasn't an old grandmother, but she was a grandmother chasing her kids around. And I was thinking to myself, I want to be that woman when I'm her age. I don't want to be the other one that's sitting over here that's just, barely moving around and, having trouble moving. It's like, I want to be the one chasing them.
Yeah.
And I want to be active. I don't want to be sedentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that kind of was in the back of my mind through that period as well.
Yeah.
So then once I did go back to work, and I started eating better. And so first of all, lost a ton of weight, just watching what I was eating and just doing that. And then when I went back to work, I started going to a gym downtown.
Okay, cool.
I got a personal trainer for 3 sessions and helped me do some weights and figure out what to do with weights.
That's kind of like your first time being in a gym.
Yes.
And like doing weight training.
Yes,
okay.
ever. First time being in a gym, first time with a trainer.
Yep.
So I'm very subconscious about people watching me, and I don't even know how to use the machines.
Yeah.
And so he walked me through more free weights because he says, machines, you're trying to make one machine for every body type, every size person, whatever. So free weights were better. So he kind of showed me things for free weights, and then I took it and just ran with it. So I was feeling better. I was eating better, but then got stuck another point.
Okay.
So that was probably 3 to 5 months into being at the gym.
Okay.
And I'm at a Starbucks one day, and there's a guy behind me in line, and real fit. I keep looking at him thinking, he looks familiar. Can't figure out where I know this guy, but he looks real familiar. Turns out he was on the P90X commercial.
Okay. In Memphis?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a Shelby County deputy. So if you go back and watch the old P90X commercial, they show a Shelby County deputy. And I'm like, okay, so he really did lose all that weight.
Yeah.
So I actually started doing the Beachbody stuff.
Okay.
After meeting him, I got into the 21-day fix and really loved that because of the containers. It taught me how to eat what I needed to be eating because I didn't have a nutritionist at the time. And it was teaching me, and I was trying to eat healthy, but I was probably eating way too many fruits.
Yeah.
That I should have. So I was probably getting all that sugar that my body was going, whoa, wait, too much.
I remember watching I think it was like one of those like My 600-Pound Life or something like that. And the guy was like, I don't understand why I can't lose weight. I eat healthy. I eat oranges every day. The guy was like, you eat 50 oranges a day. I was like, golly.
That's a lot of sugar.
Dude, just smashing oranges. But
nobody tells you that. They tell you eat fruits and vegetables. And if
it's
you're
like,
eating a ton of fruit.
Okay, 50 oranges is better than 50 Snickers, but it's still a lot of fruit. It's a lot of sugar.
It is a lot of sugar. And your body can't process that.
So the P90, I have never done P90X. I'm not entirely I'm aware of it, but so it provided you with some nutritional guidance as well.
It was the 21-day fix.
Okay.
So that's another one
that's
of the
separate?
Yeah, P90X is Beachbody, but 21-day fix is also Beachbody. And that's the one that I did that provided containers. So I knew exactly what size portion of fruit to eat and what size portion of carb to
so we give you those like, we call them like three container meal things where it's like put your protein here, carb here. Yep. Very cool. Okay, awesome.
Yep. So that also taught me that my carbs had to be a lot smaller than So you can't go to Carrabba's and have that big old plate of spaghetti.
All right, yeah.
But that helped.
Were you still going to the gym or had you stopped? Did you start just doing
I stopped going to the gym while I did the 21-day fix.
Okay.
And then I kind of did a little of both for a bit. And then I gave up the gym membership and just stuck with, because 21-day fix helped a lot.
Yeah.
It really toned me up.
What do you think the impact of the 21-day fix? Like, why was it so successful? Was it combining the training with nutrition? Were you training more often because it was at home? Like, all the above?
I think all of the above. Okay. It was 7 days a week. It rotated better through upper body, lower body, cardio day, one day of upper and lower body, then a yoga day and a Pilates day. And so you kind of were where I was going to the gym doing the same things over and over.
Yeah. So part of it was just like having the guidance of like, I'm going to, like you had gone to the gym and said like, hey, I need some help. And the guy was like, here's some ideas, but you just kind of like just kept doing that.
The same things over and over.
It was nice having like some type of guidance saying like, do this, do that. Okay. That makes sense.
And it rotated through different body parts each day. So it's so like having the trainer or being in the classes, we do different things, different days.
Well, I was trying to like think through what about that was impactful. And I think it's from what I hear, kind of knowing it was just having a guide. You know, it was not a personal guide. It was the guide through the program. But the program was saying, do this. All you have to do is do what I tell you to do.
Right.
And that was the difference between like you going to the gym was like, I'm have to make these decisions. And doing that, you didn't. And so at the gym, you're like, you didn't have a framework for like how to change it up every day. It's just I'm going to do what I'm used to doing, which is somewhat entertaining because like it's been forever since I've been to a commercial gym. But like you'll see people who do the same routines every day for like decades.
They don't change it. Yeah.
And they don't change it at all. And they don't think, and they're like, well, I got my routine. Like it's a good thing. You're like, that's a terrible thing.
You are working the exact same muscles. And there's a lot I've noticed in CrossFit. There's a lot more muscles that you do when you're doing different things. I'm like, wow, that hurts today. And you know, it didn't hurt yesterday.
Well, it's your body, when it's given a new stimulus, it's forced to adapt to that different stimulus. But if you're just giving it the same stimulus over and over and over again, there's no adaptation that takes place. You're just basically maintaining.
I think another big thing, well, the food was another big thing. So learning what to eat and what portions. So having nutritionists, you know, and having Jesse meet with me and saying, okay, let's change this up and let's do this. I think that is very helpful too. It's critical because, you know, food is a big portion of it. But then I think the other thing that I think is really good. So in the gym, you go in and I get my heart rate up to maybe 140, 150. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to rest for a little bit. And then I'll come back and I'll pick the weights up and maybe do something else. And then I'm going to rest for a little bit. But you'd get, you know, with this 21-day fix was a 30-minute workout video or 20, you know, we've got their 24-minute WODs or whatever. And you got to go that whole time. And you might stop and take a quick breath and get right back in it. You're pushing yourself more than what you would if you just went and say, okay, I'm going to just do some weights.
Yeah, you're more willing to push yourself into that discomfort zone when you've got something telling you go or someone telling you go. You got a little peer pressure going on.
So I'll throw David under the bus here.
Okay, go for it.
I've been to the gym with him a couple times, and he'll go lift some really heavy weights, and then he gets the phone out.
Yeah, on the phone,
And then he goes and do some more weights, and then that phone's out. And I'm like, I think that phone's out more than those weights are going.
Yep, I've been there. Yeah, you know, that's the, it kind of all depends on, like, what your goals are.
Right.
But I do think, like coming from that kind of bodybuilding, powerlifting background, it's like you don't realize the gap in your fitness from only doing like weight sets that are 10 to 60 seconds within multiple breaks in between. And so you become same thing if you run. Like if all you do is you go and run, like if you're like, I go and run 5 miles every day. Like the only thing you get good at is just like this continued cardiovascular aerobic output for 20 to 30 minutes. If all you do is go to the gym, lift weights, like you get really good at this like 10 to 60 second output, and then taking a long break. But there's like this big giant gap in your fitness because you're not doing any of the other stuff. And then when you go do it, it's like, oh my gosh, like I did terrible at that. That kicked my butt. And it's like, that's a big gap. You're like, yeah, you work out every single day, but yet you can't maintain this output in this area.
Right.
And that's how you know, like there's a gap in your fitness there. But since everyone at the commercial gym does that same thing, you're not quite aware of it. How was the going from like, because how many days were you training at the gym by yourself, like before you did the 21-day fix?
So it was a gym downtown for work, and I worked down there 5 days a week, and I'd probably go 3 to 4 days.
Okay, yeah. So how was it going from like 3 to 4 days, like 7 days a week?
Because it was at home, it wasn't so. I mean, it was hard at first.
Yeah.
The cardio part, that was what I wasn't getting a lot of cardio, and I'd go down to the gym and I'd get on the treadmill. 5 minutes, I want it off. You know, or 5 minutes on the elliptical, I want it off.
Yeah.
But you know, I was doing cardio, and it was tough. But I had to really push myself. But once you made it through the whole 21 days, I mean, you could see progress.
Yeah,
so that was helpful. But yeah, I enjoyed training 7 days a week. I mean,
I also imagine,
felt better.
I also imagine having the nutrition to fuel it.
Exactly.
It made the big difference. And I think that's and I kind of go back and forth between like, what's the better strategy for people? Is it to like start small and build up, or is it to just go all in? I mean, I think every person's a little bit different, but I mean, the nice thing about going all in and doing 7 days a week is like, it's going to force you to get all your foundations built correct.
Right.
Because like you can't maintain that if you're eating like crap and not sleeping well. Like if you don't have all your recovery stuff in place, like you're not gonna be able to maintain that. Right. And so one of two things will happen. Like you'll either like push you to adjust and like get that stuff in order, or you'll crash and burn. So like, but yeah, I personally have gotten to the point where like I used to train 5 days a week and then take off Saturday and Sunday. But now, like I do, it's not. I don't usually do like a CrossFit workout on Saturday or Sunday, but I'll do like a 20-minute swim. We'll go 20-minute, bike with my kids. I may do like some type of aerobic work and yoga. But I make myself do something every single day because again, like just taking that one day off, I'm like I feel more lethargic.
You missed something.
I'm like I feel like I'm lethargic. I don't have the same energy. My body hurts more. It's like the more it's like my body's basically like, dude, you're meant to move, buddy. Like get out there and do something. So like being aware of that, I've kind of realized, oh, if I don't move, I feel bad. I need to move. So 7 days a week is not 7 days a week of hard training, but 7 days a week of being physically active. Yeah, seems to make me feel the best.
And I'm actually doing now, at least, well, I've been traveling a lot lately, but doing the 6 days at the gym. Yeah. And then day 7, of course, my church, we are meeting at Malco. So we are a set up and take down.
Oh, yeah. So
I am unloading the trailer, loading the trailer, carrying stuff around all morning. So
yes,
it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Which Malco do y'all meet at?
Collierville.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So, So you did the 21-day fix, and then what kind of happened after that?
I kept going with it.
Okay, kept doing the. Did you keep repeating the 21 days?
Kept doing it. Yeah. And I did it for probably consistently. Well, I got to the point where I would skip yoga day.
Okay.
I didn't like yoga. So I would skip yoga day, or I might do, another Pilates instead of yoga or whatever. But I kept doing it, and I stayed consistent for over a year and a half maybe. And then it just kind of got like I needed something else. I tried 21-Day Fix Extreme, did that a little while.
What makes it extreme?
Ooh.
It's harder workos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We were doing jumps with weights and things.
So,
it was plyos.
Okay.
Things. It was harder workouts.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Did that for a little bit, and then I think your body gets to the point where if you're doing the same thing over and over and over, you're just you're stuck. You're not progressing. And
if you did the 21-day challenge, you're basically getting you've done that workout. What is that?
So 7 different days, so three times for each one.
But it's the same 7 workouts.
Yes.
Well, so you're doing every workout 52 times in a year.
Yeah.
So you did, so after 52 times doing the same workout, you're like, okay, I've hit my plateau as good as I might get at this one. Right. So then, okay,
So you're doing, it's the same moves. You're not, you could increase weights, I
right.
guess.
Yeah.
But for a home gym, how many different weights do you want?
Yeah. Okay. So then what'd you do?
So last year, so now at my age, I've hit the big M, the big menopause.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, something's not working. I'm eating the food right. I'm doing the 21-day fix.
So this was like last year you were doing this 21-day fix.
Well, I mean, I've been doing it ever since 2014, I think is when I started the 21-day fix. So I've been doing it, and I wouldn't necessarily do 7 days. I might do 4 or 5. Or
you did the same 21-day fix or the extreme. Yes. This was the same workouts since 2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
It got old.
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah,
I liked it, but like I said, I didn't feel like I was progressing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I started going backwards because the food was still on. I'm doing the routines, but I'm not getting the results that I used to get.
Right.
You know, it just wasn't happening because I got very good results for many years doing it. So started doing some research, seeing some things that maybe saying that in my age group, menopause, that you can overtrain. And so they were saying work out 2 days a week, do shorter workouts, then walk and do a ton of, but I started doing that and all the walking was like an hour and a half worth of walking. I'm like, this is boring. I don't want to walk through the neighborhood and look at the same houses and everything for an hour and a half. I mean, it's like, this is boring. I would rather be lifting weights. You know, I like lifting weights. I like doing stuff like that. So when David was at Gen Fitness and then she was closing and going and they had the open house at MBS Fitness. I thought, well, let me just go take a look and see what it was all about.
Yeah.
And of course, we've gone through COVID, been at home, I say by myself. David lives there, but, what 22, 23-year-old spends time with his mom.
Yeah, right.
He's off doing his own thing.
Yeah.
I'm by myself. So I'm just sitting there, go to this open house, and they're talking about group classes, and I'm seeing the free weights and so it's not machines, which are intimidating to me because I don't know how to do the machines, but I see the free weights and I'm like, I can do this. It's a group class. I'll have other people in here. I won't be by myself. I can do this. I can make myself get up and come to class.
Very cool.
So that's when I joined this and I love it.
Awesome. Cool. What is, okay. So talk to me kind of what your first impressions were of Level Method.
First impression when I came in, I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing CrossFit? Like, what? I didn't know that was CrossFit. So I'm like, what did I get myself into?
Well, and I think, to clarify that for people, it's like CrossFit is a brand and has a connotation to it that is different for every single person. Like, and it's, what people kind of perceive of what CrossFit is all across the board. Because they still be like, your CrossFit gym? I was like, what's CrossFit? Sometimes I'll ask people. And like the answer they give me will be just all across the board. And so, the way kind of like I describe our group fitness, because we're technically not a CrossFit gym. We don't pay for the brand name. We stopped affiliating. And part of the reason was because we wanted to be able to provide people with, we want to have a blank slate when we're talking to people. It's like what we say is that, what we provide is guidance-based fitness. What is fitness? It is resistance to disease and dysfunction. And we do that by building up your capacity or your abilities across a bunch of different, we build up all your different capacities. So that would be like strength, power, speed, mobility, flexibility, endurance, so on and so forth, right? And so what the group class does is it says, we're actually going to develop real fitness, which is a little bit different than what a lot of people think of when they think of CrossFit, because a lot of times what other gyms do is they just throw a workout on the board. There's no real big picture plan. Right. There's not a and that's kind of
where are you and where you're going.
Yeah, that's the difference between the Level Method versus like CrossFit. Is the Level Method says we're going to provide a map that helps assess your current fitness levels. So we can 100% test you and say, here's how fit you are, right? And then we can go from that map, we can say, okay, here's where you are. Here's where we suggest you go. Like, you and your coach can come up with a game plan of like, well, now where do you want to improve? Like, here's your lowest level. This would be the area to focus on, right? And you actually have an objective measurement of how fit you are and with the progress that you've made. And that's so much different than every other fitness thing on the planet is we can actually provide assessment and objective analysis of like your progress,
right?
Versus it just going like, if you just, like we talked about, like if you just go to the gym and do the same routine all the time, you don't know where you are if you're getting any better.
And I don't know how far I can go because, for instance, yesterday was front squats. I leveled up to 100, which if I was in a gym by myself and I don't see anybody else in there and don't have that kind of the level method map, I'd be like, oh, wow, I did 100 pounds.
Yeah.
That's great. But I'm in there watching Jen do 170 or whatever she was doing. And I'm like, okay, I got a ways to go.
Yeah.
I can get up to that. Because I would have thought maybe add another 10, maybe add another 20. No, she's doing 170. I got a roadmap now. I'm like, I got to catch up.
Very cool.
So, but that's what the level method, it shows you, wow, I'm at orange 1 right now, so I need to move my way. This is what I need to do to get to blue.
Right.
And I start working towards that. And I know, hey, I see other women in this gym doing purple. So it's attainable. I can do it. It's just I've got to work my way to it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know that being at a gym by myself lifting weights or even, just even doing like a regular CrossFit, unless you have, like I said, someone you can watch, someone you can, follow, and then that map of where am I going?
Yeah.
And, let me take my baby steps to get there.
Yeah. It's got all the pieces in it that leads to success. So part of it is the guidance. So that's not only the guidance in having a workout routine to do that day. So like that we talked about with the 21-day fix, is like you had a routine to follow that day. Like that's the beauty of having the programming, is like you're not going to the gym and figuring it out on your own, right? So there's guidance in that area. There's also guidance from the coaching standpoint. Someone is going to be there to correct your technique, to encourage you along the way, to help guide you towards better fitness decisions. Mm-hmm. Hey, maybe let's not do that movement today. Let's change it out for this one. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, I know this list is that, but I know you can do the harder movement. Let's go ahead and push it today. So you get the guidance part, you get the accountability part, which is if you don't show up, someone's reaching out to you. But then also like you've got the community, whereas you've got people to go and train with and high five and who will also be like, where you been? Haven't seen you.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little
encouraging you
along the way. You got a little bit of the competition.
Yep.
Hey, I know that's the other person who's orange with me. And that's the kind of, like, everyone's got that person in class that you're like, I know we're on the same level. Sometimes they're not even in class. They go to the 5 o'clock class and you've never met them before. They go to Cordova and you've never met them before, but you know that you're like, man, we're like always neck and neck. So like, we're going to, have a little, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to compete. And then you also have just the measurement standpoint. I think it's good for people to have data. You need to know, like, is what you're doing working or is it not working, so you can make an adjustment. That's where the data comes in from the map, and then on your daily workouts. You can see, like, I am 100% getting better. Like, when you level up, you can put your hand in the air and say, like, I know this worked because I did more reps. I leveled up. I know for sure I got more fit.
Yep. And I think the having the coaches correct your technique is, I mean, that for me, that's very important because, the horror stories you hear about CrossFit, you'll throw your back out, whatever. Well, no, not when the coaches are walking around saying, okay, nope, you've got to lean back and pull your shoulders back. And they're walking you through all those things and making sure you're doing it right. Yeah. So all those horror stories I heard in the past, I don't know if those people didn't have coaches that were helping, but at MBS, they're always watching you and they're always correcting you and making sure, you're doing it correctly.
Right. Well, I think a lot of it comes down like the way traditional CrossFit gyms would work was they would put what was called an RX on the board, which would be like, this is the workout. So the workout may be, let's take Tuesday's workout. It would have been work up to a 1 rep max on front squat. Mm-hmm. And then after that would have been 21-15-9, thrusters with 115, and 200-meter run. That would have just been on the board, that one workout.
Right.
And then it would be up to you as an individual to, like, make the proper adjustment, or like you and a coach to try to, like, make the proper adjustment to keep yourself from doing too much. But, like, that's not an appropriate workout for most people, So what would happen is either that person's ego would push them to do the workout that's a little too hard for them. And they would struggle to maintain technique, and then they would get hurt. Or they would be introduced to the class through that process. It would just be like, hey, tomorrow's your first class. Good luck.
Right.
So they had never got any one-on-one individual coaching of technique. Mm-hmm. So like one of the reasons we do the Kickstarters is like we want to make sure you have good technique before you get in the class. Like we want one coach, one client, one-on-one watching technique and instructing, right? Mm-hmm. And then into class, by doing the levels, once we've tested you, now you know you're doing the appropriate workout for your level. Now the coach has an opportunity within class to give you technique feedback so that you're doing it properly and not risking injury. Right. I mean, the reality is like you're going to get hurt. I mean, at some point you're going to get hurt. Most of those are going to be minor injuries. I call them boo-boos. You might have your back might tighten up and be like, kind of hurts today. Mm-hmm. You might have a little muscle strain. You might miss a box and catch your shin. That's just, if you do it at a high enough level for enough time, like you're pushing your body's physiological limits to get better, like you're going to have boo-boos. Boo-boos are different than injuries. Injury is getting in a car wreck and shattering your femur, right?
Right.
It's blowing a disc out, and having nerve pain that keeps you from being able to walk. Those are you're trying to prevent at all cost, right? Right. Those are and if you're doing it right, you should never get injured. And that's the reality. If you're doing it right, you should never have any major injury unless you are just really pushing your absolute limits. Like if once you get up into the higher levels, and you're trying to go from black to red or red 1 to red 5, there's the reality, like you may get injured sometime over a training career. But for the most part, like the safest thing you can do is exercise.
Right.
Because 100% you're going to get hurt and injured if you don't exercise. Exactly. Yeah. There's a 100% chance you're going to hurt if you don't exercise.
I mean, I know people that don't exercise, and they're all kinds of aches and pains.
Yeah, they're jacked up, big time. So, so you're coming up on your 7th month or 6 months.
February.
February.
February. So
you're finishing out your 6th month. What kind of your biggest accomplishment? What are you most proud of doing over that 6-month period?
I box jump. That was the biggest fear. I was like looking at that box, thinking, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I don't get up here?" So that was probably, that I would, for a while I jumped, not too long. I mean, I would jump, stack plates up beside the box.
Right.
And I had the box there, but I was jumping. I was like, okay, how high am I getting?
Yeah.
Like, somebody
I'm
just
close.
tell me.
Yeah.
Am I high enough? So that's probably my the big one. And then, some of these heavier weights, I never did any of even in the gym, I wasn't, doing the weights that I'm doing now. So I'm proud of that. Mm-hmm. My running's gotten better even. Yeah. I've noticed quickly, but my biggest thing, I think, in gymnastics. So that was my big complaint. Remember, I started too late. Never learned how to do a kip. Yeah. Ever. Yeah. But I'm going to get a kip. Yeah. Soon. I'm still building my way up to it and had to work through a little bit of a shoulder setback. Yeah. But I'm already working on doing a proper pull up and the, engaging the lats and all that nobody ever taught me before. Right. I never knew about engaging the lats. So I was never going to be able to do a kip or a pull up or anything because no one taught me. Yeah. So that to me, that's my, the biggest excitement, I guess. And I hadn't quite made it there yet. Yeah. But I'm working on that.
But you can see the light in the tunnel. You're like, I know I'm going to be able to do it. Like, I'm just chipping away, and then one day I'm going to do it. I'm like, got it.
I've already seen improvement just in what I've been doing.
I think there's something powerful about gymnastics, especially, I'm not going to say older people, but like anyone over 30 or 20, really. I'm like, all little kids are good at gymnastics. Why? Because they just move their body freely. Right. Like every 5-year-old and under can do tumbles, and they can jump.
They don't weigh much.
Yeah, they don't weigh anything. But the ability, like gymnastics, the ability to control your body through space. Mm-hmm. I think when you are seeing improvements and have a high capacity for that, like throughout your entirety of life, like it builds an extreme confidence that allows you to take on life and do things where a lot of people are fearful, you know, like, because they don't ever practice that. Like they're never moving their body properly through space. So they're just sitting in a chair all day or sitting on the couch, or, you know, they're always in the seated position. They're never coordinating that movement. And so like when they come face to face with that, they're like fearful,
right?
Like, I'm scared. I'm gonna get hurt. But like you said,
like the box jump.
Yeah. But having like practiced it, like you could go to a playground with your grandkids and like, you know, you want to look at that playground as like an off limits, like, I'm scared to do this. You would see it as a child would see it. I'm like, cool. Like, there's like cool stuff we could do from this. Let's play.
Hang on the monkey bars.
Yeah. Like you maintain that youth because you're like, I see the world as an opportunity for play. And I think that's like super impactful. Have you felt like a carryover, or what's been the carryover to just general life from like improving the strength or improving the gymnastics and whatnot?
So I ride dirt bikes because I had 2 boys. So they got me into the dirt bikes. Yeah. And I have definitely noticed. So some of the women that I rode with before in the past, they were, several of them down in the Tupelo area do CrossFit.
Okay. Very cool.
And we'll go ride and they'll stop, you know, they're usually in front and I'm usually in the back because they've been riding longer than me. Yeah. And we'll stop and they're like, you need a break? And I'm like, yes. Yeah. I need a break. And they're just, they're fine. They're fine. I'm like, how do y'all do this and not get winded? And the last time I went and rode at Loretta's, so that was in April, my stamina was way higher. I didn't get winded like I did before. Upper body strength, I could tell. So normally if the bike, you know, is going to wobble a little bit, I might have to get a foot down to keep from going down, but I was able to, you know, to hold on to it with the steering and manage to get myself out of some stuff with just that upper body strength. Yeah. So I could tell a big difference. I bet. That last time riding.
And that's huge. I mean, I think that's the benefit that a lot of people don't quite understand is like you can take all these things that you do in the gym and then go apply it like outside, like significantly.
Right.
You know, it's like you're basically opening your potential for like life. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, you want to go ride dirt bikes? Yeah, cool. Let's go do it. Like, I feel confident in my body. You know, I feel like I can knock this out. Or that's awesome. I can imagine like the strength improvement specifically because you're handling a heavy bike.
Yeah.
Under tension the whole time. Yeah. You know, so I imagine that's a pretty big carryover.
Somebody described it to me, and I never thought about this before, but the guys are handling a bike that's their weight.
Yeah.
I'm handling a bike that's about twice my weight.
Right.
And I was like, that's a good point, you know?
How much does a dirt bike weigh?
It's about 250.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
For a 4-stroke.
Gotcha.
4-stroke. So those other ladies that I ride with ride 2-strokes, and they're probably, I don't know, 175 to 220, somewhere in that range.
The 2-stroke's a little lighter than the 4-stroke. Yeah. Okay. What's the difference between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke?
Cylinder.
Well, yeah.
Well,
what's the
handle? 2-strokes, I think, are snappier and they get on the power more. But there's a power band, and so once you hit the power band, it could take off with you. And so I've been a little afraid. I'm more of the risk manager. I'm like, nah, I think I'll stay away from 2-stroke. I'll stick with 4-stroke.
Okay,
it's more steady power.
Gotcha. More consistent, steady versus like you're hitting that.
Yes.
That it can get away from you quick if you're not. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that, but I was like, I don't know what the difference between that is. Okay, cool. What do you have on the horizon? Like now that you've kind of gotten into it, what are you now going, okay, here's the next thing I want to do. You talked a little bit about hitting the kipping pull up.
Yep. Or a strict pull up.
I
want a strict pull up for one. And that's something that, you talk about people outside of CrossFit. I've had actually 2 people now say, well, CrossFit, they don't really do real, pull-ups the right way. I'm like, well, yeah, we do. Yeah. And not only that, I've seen them, you especially strap a belt on with a kettlebell and do a strict pull-up. I said, we do strict pull-ups. So there's that, mentality that we're not doing them right. But so pull-up is one. And I would think, some just getting my deadlifting and stuff. So I did have back injury years and years ago. That's another story too. So I went to ortho and he was saying, well, you need to work out and you need to strengthen your abs. And I'm like, just fix my back. And he says, well, you need to work out and strengthen your abs. I'm like, at that point I didn't do any workout, but like, I'm not a weak person. I have good abs. Yeah. And he was like, you need to work out. So after doing all the 21-day fix and being in the gym, and I noticed my back didn't hurt.
Yeah. You're like, okay, doc, maybe you're onto something.
I did actually run into him in the airport and I was like, well, you were right.
Well, at least you had a doctor that the fact that you had a doctor that said you need to work out after you had a back injury. Right.
Exactly. That's what he told me.
You had a good doctor, because a lot of doctors are like,
no, don't work out.
Stop exercising. Never deadlift again. Yes. That's pretty funny.
But it is true. You build your abs up, and that deadlifting, you're working on your abs too when you're deadlifting. And I do notice that when I'm working out, I can lift things. I can stand for longer periods of time. My lower back doesn't hurt. Yeah. When I stop working out, I can tell it. I'll be sore all the time. I'll wake up sore.
Yeah. You're just building that ability to just brace and transfer force and hold yourself in the proper position. Right. So here's a good example. So we kind of talk about like what people perceive CrossFit to be. As you'll see people doing kipping pull-ups. And to their credit, a lot of CrossFit gyms screw up by putting that on the board and saying, there it is. And you see these people doing kipping pull-ups, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do kipping pull-ups. And there are people who can do kipping pull-ups and not do a strict pull-up. The problem is like that's not the proper progression. You need to be able to control your body through space like we talked about. That's what we call gymnastics. And you need to have control over that by being able to do proper pull-ups. Right. And when I try to tell people, like, you need to be able to do a pull-up your whole life. So that's something you should put on your radar is like, this is something I need to build up and then maintain. And then the way the level method works is that we say, until you can do X number of proper pull-ups, we're not going to let you kip. Mm-hmm. Right? Because we want you to make sure that you're doing it safely. Like if you can't control your body weight and pull it over a bar, we probably shouldn't be doing that in a dynamic, like explosive fashion. Exactly. And so that's a little bit of that safety measure. It's like, if you walked into a normal CrossFit gym, they might let you do kipping pull-ups before you're ready and you could get hurt. Mm-hmm. This is where you're like, we're not going to let you do that. We're going to make sure you can do the proper pull-ups first. And then you're going to be that much better at the kipping pull-up. Right. But the other thing I think people, like the way I describe it to people when they say, and I'll say this, I was one of those people who like made fun of the kipping pull-up until I actually understood it. Mm-hmm. And the difference is what a kip is, it is utilizing your entire body in a coordinated, athletic, explosive movement to drive your body up and down on a pull-up bar. It is utilized all the time in gymnastics. The funny thing is like no one ever tells a gymnast like, you didn't do a proper pull-up.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Just walk up there and pull up.
Yeah, you're like you see these gymnasts do this very fluid kipping muscle up. Right. And that's what they're doing, a kipping pull-up or kipping muscle-up to get on top of a bar to do the uneven bars. Like, it happens all the time. They just are so majestically coordinated that you're just, like, in awe. And they're stringing it in. They're stringing that into multiple other movements. But they're learning the kip. And like, all we're doing is taking a gymnastics movement. We're building a strength foundation, then taking a gymnastics movement, teaching that so that people can have a higher work output at the end of the day. So the idea is like the better you are at strict pull-ups, the better you're going to be at kipping pull-ups, which means you're going to have a greater work capacity. And so along that line, it's like we're still training both. Like it's not like once you can do a strict pull-up, you should never do strict pull-ups. You know, that's why you need to build that like vertical pulling motion. That's why we keep it in there. We build both, right? We're building vertical pulling strength by doing the strict pull-up, and then we're building that gymnastic skill, that dynamic upper body pull by teaching the kip. And the beautiful part about the kip, well, one of the things that I kind of learned along the way is it's not just like a floppy pull up. It takes so much full body coordination to be able to do it correctly.
Right.
So like the way I was telling Brian today, because we were doing the toes to bar, and I was like, Brian, you have to understand that like everything that we do from a bar that we do as a kip is coming from the top of the abs to the bottom of the toes. Mm-hmm. You're thinking too much about the upper body. I'm like, you need to learn to be rigid and let all this do the work. And I explained it a little bit more in depth, but anyways, he went from being able to do about 3 or 4 to like he instantly did 10.
Oh wow!
He was like
that easy, yeah.
And I was like, that's what I'm telling you. Like when you learn to make it a gymnastic move, it's just not a floppy toes to bar. Right. Like you learn to make it a gymnastics move, which is a full body coordinated. It's full body coordination. Like you get so much better at it.
Well, that's why I like the instruction too. Yeah. So, for instance, negative prones
is
what the level that I was on, and I was trying to do a negative prone, and I would just get my chin up there, and I would just drop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand why, and I'm just dropping.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to David, and David's like, Mom, you got to engage your lats.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? Show me what you're talking about. So I did it, and then I let myself down. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah.
I mean, just understanding what the movement is, it helped.
100%.
And then so having the instruction is key to getting the movements down.
Well, and like that's like the interesting thing about that instruction is how long would you have to have played around with that till you figured it out on your own?
Right. A long
time, right? So like I always say like coaches are like time machines. Mm-hmm. It's like someone figured this out. You can take as much time as they did to figure it out, or they could just tell you.
Right.
And that's why I use coaching. It's why I encourage coaching so much. Is like I'm like, hey, my times are way too important. Like I'm not gonna sit here and like flail around and try to figure this stuff out on my own. To save a few bucks, when like the most important thing to me is like reaching the goal. And it's like if I have an option between reaching the goal literally like next week or in 2 years, I'll take next week. You know what I mean? I mean, just because like if someone can go, oh yeah, here's just these 2 little tips and tricks that you just aren't aware of, that I can tell you to instantly fix it. I'm like, well, I'll do that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Plus, it also helps when the coaches too remind you of those things. Yeah. As you're doing the movements, don't forget you're supposed to engage the core. Yeah. Or you're supposed to engage the lat. They walk you through it, so you remember each time, and you don't just get up there and forget and struggle and not be able to do it the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, I think that's the a good process for getting better is like to be introduced to whatever those techniques and cues are in like a non-competitive state.
Right.
I mean, like that's the difference between like training and like competing. Mm-hmm. So, and you have an option to do kind of both in the class, right? And if you're on that edge, you're like, I'm trying to learn this movement, it may be more beneficial for you to slow down the workout a little bit. It's just like today my goal is not to win. Today my goal is to get better. And that's what training is. And so sometimes that's like taking a step back, being aware of the cues, focusing on the quality of movement and getting better at it versus saying like I'm just pushing it to the edge. And so like, it is hard to do, especially for competitive people, as I point to myself. So like one thing I'll do is like, if it's a workout that like a good example, Monday was muscle ups, and like muscle ups is something I can do, but it's not like in my wheelhouse. And I was like, today I really want to focus on doing good quality movement. So I was like, I forced myself to not look at the leaderboard before I did the workout. I was like, I don't want to be influenced by like, I was like, the goal's 12. So I know I can do 12 rounds. So I was like, I'm just going to do 12 rounds. I did 12 plus 3. So I was like, I'm in here to do 12 rounds so I can focus on this movement, because otherwise what I would have ended up doing is like pushed it too hard on the front end, too fatigued on the back end to focus on good movement. And guess what? Bad movement doesn't get you better. Right. You know, good quality movement executed over and over and over again solidifies that technique, you know, in your repertoire, so that eventually you don't have to think about good movement. But when you're talking about new movement, you have to work it in a non-fatigue state. Yeah. So, Debbie, just wrap this up. Any final words of encouragement to anyone? What would you say to someone? What would you say to a peer who's maybe struggling with their weight or struggling with their confidence or something like that?
Oh, I would definitely say come to MBS, because not just, you know, the weight, you're getting the nutrition coaching, so you know exactly what you're doing, and they'll tweak, you know, figure out what's working, what's not working, tweak it for you, for your lifestyle too. I mean, like, you know, Jesse was like, can you handle eating every couple hours? Can you do that? And we figure out a plan. So eating right is key. So that's helpful. But just the group classes and having the, you know, not being on your own, not trying to do things on your own by yourself, having that, you know, progression, you know where you're at, you know exactly what you need to do to get to the next level, and you have everybody cheering you on. I can't tell you how many times I heard my name this morning when we were working out, and they were saying, "Go Debbie," you know, and everybody's, you know, cheering each other on and encouraging each other, motivating us. So you really have that community that they're there to build you up and support you. I've not had one negative experience at all with anybody in any of the classes. Everybody's always just positive, encouraging, trying to push you, even though they're trying to push themselves too. They're still trying to push you. Yeah. You know, they're focused on everyone else, not just themselves.
That's awesome. All right, Debbie, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, MBS Fitness Radio out.
Thank you for listening to NBS Fitness Radio. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our website at www.nbsfitness.net. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more NBS Fitness Radio.